English Senior Newspeed. Mr. Speaker, Sir, the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly is the unicameral legislature of the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. It has a strength of 234 members, of whom are democratically elected using the fast the post system. The presiding officer of the assembly is the speaker. The term of the assembly is 5 years unless dissolved earlier. The Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly 60th Tamil Nadu Assembly cost of arms or logo type unicameral terms limits 5 leaders. Since Tamil Nadu has a unicameral legislature, the terms Tamil Nadu Legislature and Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly are almost synonymous and are often confused. However, they are not one and the same. The Tamil Nadu Legislature is the legislative body, while the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly is a part of it. The Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, along with the Governor of India, constitutes the Tamil Nadu legislature. The President State of Tamil Nadu is a residuary part of the erstwhile Madras Presidency and was formerly known as Madras State. The first legislature of any sort for the presidency was the Madras Legislative Council, which was set up as a non-representative advisory body in 1861. In 1990, direct election were introduced with the introduction of diarchy under the Government of India Act 1990. Between 1920-1937, the Legislative Council was a unicameral legislature for the Madras Presidency. The Government of India Act 1935 abolished diarchy and created a bicameral legislature in the Madras Presidency. The Legislative Assembly became the lower house of the presidency. After the Republic of India was established in 1950, the Madras Presidency became the Madras State and the bicameral setup continued. The Madras State's Assembly strength was 37-5 and the first assembly was constituted in 1952. The current state was formed in 1960. After the recognition was states and the strength of the assembly was reduced to 206. Its strength was increased to the president 234 in 1965. Madras state was renamed Tamil Nadu in 1969 and subsequently the assembly came to be called the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly. The Legislative Council was established in 1986, making the legislature a unicameral body and the assembly its sole chamber. The President 16th Legislative Assembly was constituted on May 2, 2021. It was constituted after the 2021 assembly election, which resulted in Dravida Munnetra Kalagam led front winning and forming the government. The next election will take place in 2026. The first Indian Council Act of 1861 set up the Madras Legislative Council as an advisory body through which the colonial administration obtained advice and assistance. The act empowered the provisional governor to nominate 4 non-English Indian members to the council for the first time. Under the act, the nominated members were allowed to move their own bills and vote on bills introduced in the council. However, they were not allowed to question the executive, move resolutions or examine the budget. Also, they could not interfere with the laws passed by the central legislature. The governor was also the president of the council and he had completely authority over when, where and how long to convene the council and what to discuss. 2 members of his executive council and the Advocate General of Madras were also allowed to participate and vote in the council. The Indians nominated under this act were mostly zamindars and rayatwari landowners who often benefited from their association with the colonial government. Supportive members were often renominated for several terms. Dear sirs, in 1892, the role of the council was expanded by the Indian Councils Act of 1892. The act increased the number of additional members of the council to a maximum of 20, of whom not more than 9 had to be officials. The act introduced the method of election for the council but did not mention ward election explicitly. The elected members were officially called as nominated members and their method of election was described as recommendation, as such recommendations were made by district boards, universities, municipalities and other associations. The term of the members was fixed at 2 years. The council could also discuss the annual financial statement and ask questions subject to certain limitations. 80 Indian members were nominated in the 8th election during 1893-1909 when this act was in effect. Yours truly.